When a billionaire sees a waitress feed his blind son, it triggers an epic life-changing moment. The bustling diner, with its flickering neon sign, was a world of secrets and second chances. In a small corner booth, something extraordinary was unfolding. A waitress named Lily was holding a spoon, gently feeding a blind boy named Ethan. The pure connection between them felt electric, making the air shimmer with unspoken possibilities. Little did Lily know, an unseen presence lurked nearby, a billionaire named Robert who was about to witness something that would shake the foundation of his controlled world. As Robert peeked through the cafe window, he felt an odd tightness in his chest. The way Lily deftly navigated Ethan's needs was mesmerizing. Her bright, auburn hair swung with her movements, glimmering under the harsh fluorescent lights much like a flame flickering in the dark. She engaged Ethan with stories of far-off places, her voice a soft melody that seemed to drown out the clanging dishes and murmured conversations. The boy, with his white cane resting beside him, hung on to her every word, his lips curling into a smile that felt like sunshine breaking through stormy clouds. What caught Robert off guard was not just the sight of a waitress feeding a blind boy, but the look of utter trust mingled with delight on Ethan's face. The boy's laughter bubbled over like a refreshing spring, stirring emotions in Robert he hadn't felt in years: love, longing, and an aching sense of loss. This scene was an enigma, a strange anomaly in his meticulously organized life. The uneasiness hung in the air, thick and heavy, as Robert wrestled with what he was witnessing. He wanted to turn away, to return to the safety of wealth and power, but something gripped him, an invisible thread pulling him closer, forcing him to confront the emptiness he felt within. The diner took on a sinister glow, shadows creeping as he realized the power of a simple act of kindness, compassion, and connection. Could this waitress awaken the humanity he thought he lost? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As Robert stood frozen in that doorway, time seemed to blur. The waitress's laughter echoed in his ears, but so did a distant rumble of thunder. A storm was brewing, both outside and within him. What wild twists awaited him at this intersection of lives? An overpowering urge tugged at him to step inside, to peel back the layers of his wealth and reveal what lay beneath. The reality that unfolded was about to be life-altering, but how? Would he risk everything for this moment of raw human connection? Yet just then, the diner door crashed open, and a gust of cold air swept through, bringing with it a shadow, a man in a dark coat, his face hidden but his intent all too clear. Robert's instincts flared, set ablaze by the sudden emergence of danger. What was about to happen next? The answer lingered in the charged atmosphere as all eyes turned towards the door, wondering who this stranger was and what chaos he might unveil. The figure in the dark coat stepped inside, the door slamming shut behind him with an echo that felt like thunder. Patrons turned, their conversations abruptly silenced by the chill that had descended with him. The man scanned the room, his gaze locking on Robert, and for a split second, a smirk danced on his lips. It was a look suffused with malice, a flicker of something deeper and more sinister. Lily, fresh from telling Ethan about the wonders of starry nights, froze, spoons suspended midair. Ethan sensed the shift in her demeanor, and turned his head, confusion replacing glee. The atmosphere thickened, tension crackling like electricity in the air. Robert took a step forward, his heart pounding in his chest. He didn't know why, but instinctively, he felt the need to protect this innocent moment, this connection that meant so much to him. "Who the hell are you?" Robert demanded, his voice cutting through the dead silence. The man chuckled softly, as if the question was the most amusing thing he'd heard all week. "You don't want to know, but I assure you, I know everything about you," he replied, his voice smooth like silk but laced with threat. Leave him alone! Lily cried, her voice rising above the low murmurs of nervous diner patrons. She stepped protectively in front of Ethan, shielding him from the stranger's gaze. Cute, the stranger sneered, taking a deliberate step toward them. But I'm not here for him. He focused on Robert now. I've come for you. The billionaire clenched his fists, feeling every muscle in his body tense. What do you want from me? He wasn't used to being threatened. He was the one who controlled outcomes, who dictated the rules. Let's just say I'm here to remind you of the man you used to be. The man you forgot, the stranger continued, stepping closer. Robert noticed the glint of steel peeking from beneath the coat, an ominous hint of danger that coiled at his gut. You're hiding in your tower, but I know your weakness, your son. The words fell like bricks, each syllable heavy with meaning. Robert's heart raced. How could he know about Ethan? He had kept his son's condition tightly under wraps, away from the prying eyes of the world. Suddenly, the air felt suffocating, darkened by the weight of impending disaster. Leave him out of this. Robert thrust forward, fury flowing through him, fueled by fear for his child. He wasn't a violent man, but protective instincts surged within him, demanding action. A laugh erupted from the stranger, cold and unsettling. Oh, I'm afraid it's too late for that. You see, I know exactly how to ruin you, Robert. You made a grave mistake turning your back on your past connections. Ethan, still blissfully unaware, clutched Lily's hand. She felt the boy's small fingers tremble. What is happening, Lily? His innocent query cut through the tension like a blade. Before she could respond, the stranger leaned in even closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. I'll be in touch. We have unfinished business. With that, he spun on his heel and was out the door, the clang echoing ominously in his wake. Robert stood shaken, the weight of the threat washing over him like a cold tide. Ethan, but Lily interrupted, turning her face toward him, concern etched in her features. We need to go, now. He might come back. A primal urge to flee coursed through Robert, mixed with the need to protect what mattered most. As they rushed toward the exit, Robert glanced back at the empty doorway, his mind racing. Who was that man? What did he know? There were too many questions swirling in his mind, like a storm gathering strength. But one thing was clear. The walls he built to shield himself had just crumbled, leaving an uncharted landscape of fear and uncertainty ahead. Whatever was coming next, Robert knew he had to figure it out fast. Little did he know, this was just the beginning of a deadly game that would change everything. What would he sacrifice to save his son? The shadows clung to Robert as he sprinted out of the diner, the hollow ring of the door slamming behind him echoing in his ears. He felt like he was running from a nightmare, heart pounding, adrenaline surging through his veins. Each glance over his shoulder was mingled with fear of what could come next, almost paralyzing him. The alley smelled of grease and something rotten, but Robert hardly noticed. Dad! Ethan's voice shattered his thoughts. What's wrong? Robert pulled Ethan closer, shielding him as best he could. Nothing, buddy. Just a little distraction. Let us get home, okay? Lily fell into step beside them, her face drawn tight with concern. That guy, he knows things, Rob. Dangerous things. I can't believe this, Robert breathed, furious at himself for letting his guard down. I should have never gone to that charity dinner. I thought I could help. Your past wants you back, Lily said softly. Like a ghost, wanting revenge. They hurried down the side street, the weight of the night pressing against them. Robert's mind churned, trying to remember anything that could shed light on the stranger. The man had been a ghost from his past, but which one? Was it someone he had wronged? A deal gone sour? The more he processed his memories, the more shadows seemed to dance behind them. Don't you know who that guy was? Lily said. Robert shook his head, forcing himself to remain calm for Ethan's sake. No, but I can't ignore what he said. About you, he glanced at Ethan and then turned back to Lily. He is threatening my son. They turned a corner and stopped in front of their car. Robert fumbled with his keys, trying to steady his racing heart. Get inside, he ordered, voice shaking. Lily hesitated. Rob, we can't just go home. I need to make sure Ethan is safe. He shot back, cutting her short. I won't let anyone hurt him, not ever. Ethan reached out, placing a hand on Robert's arm. Dad, it's okay. I'm right here with you. The boy's innocence tugged at Robert's heart, pushing him to focus. He had to be the protector, now more than ever. Once inside the car, Robert turned to Lily, urgency brimming in his eyes. Call the police. Tell them everything about the man and the threat. Lily's brows knitted together. But what good would that do? What if he targets us before help comes? It doesn't matter, Robert snapped, frustration piercing through the fear he felt. Someone needs to know. They can help. As Lily made the call, Robert's gaze flickered to Ethan, who sat quietly, clutching their weekend trip to the fair, a small stuffed elephant he had won. The innocence of it contrasted starkly with the chaos swirling around them. Moments dragged on, tension thick as they waited. Then the phone call faded, and Robert felt the weight of the night returning like a crushing force. I won't let him hurt you, Ethan. But just as he said it, a flicker of movement caught his eye. Robert's breath hitched as he turned. The figure from the diner loomed at the end of the street, an ominous silhouette against the waning light. He stood completely still, watching them. Get down! Robert shouted, his body reacting before his mind. They ducked, hearts pounding in unison. Panic surged up through him. There was no time for hesitation, no room for fear. The threat was all too real. Dad? Ethan's voice trembled with uncertainty. Stay close, don't move. But Robert could sense the man drawing nearer, a predator closing in on his prey. He knew he had to take control before it was too late. In that moment, something inside Robert snapped. He wouldn't wait for anyone else to come to their aid. They were in danger, and he had to act. Lily, hold Ethan tight. We're not going to let him win. He's not going to take you away from me. As he gripped the steering wheel, eyes glued to the figure advancing toward them, determination washed over him. Whatever it took, he would protect his son. He would face whatever the darkness held. But what if the darkness had something even more sinister in store for them? What if this was only the beginning? Robert's heart raced as he caught the glint of a knife flickering in the silhouetted figure's hand. The predator moved with a purpose that sent chills racing down his spine. Lily, we need to go. Now. He threw the car into gear, and the engine roared to life, breaking the heavy silence that enveloped them. The figure lunged forward, but Robert slammed on the gas, tires screeching as they sped away. Keep your head down, Robert yelled, glancing in the rearview mirror. All he could see was the swirling shadows of the street, but he knew the man was close on their heels. Where do we go? Lily shouted, panic edging her voice as she held Ethan trembling close to her chest. Anywhere but here, Robert replied, his mind racing. He had no plan, just an overwhelming instinct to escape. His hands gripped the steering wheel so fiercely his knuckles turned white. They barreled down the empty streets, the city lights becoming a blur around them, flashing past like disjointed memories. What was his name? Lily asked breathlessly, trying to piece together a sense of clarity in the chaos. Do you know him? Robert clenched his jaw, fully aware that not knowing weighed heavy on him. I don't, but he knows me. His eyes, Rob. Lily said, eyes wide. Did you see his eyes? A cold sweat formed at Robert's brow. He hadn't thought about the eyes, the darkness in them. Like a beast hunting, he whispered, recalling that piercing gaze that had locked onto him, filled with a hunger that chilled his soul. Ethan whimpered softly. Dad? Robert wanted to reassure his son, to tell him everything would be fine. But all he felt was a growing despair and anger at the man who had threatened their safety. He twisted the car down side streets and alleys, trying to locate any safe haven. They reached a deserted park, the moonlight illuminating the open space. Robert slammed the brakes, flinging the car to a stop. This is it, he declared. Stay low and quiet. Where are we? Ethan asked, eyes wide and innocent. Just a little detour, Robert lied, trying to keep his tone light, even as his own heart felt the weight of dread looming over them. As they shuffled out of the car, Robert scanned the area, the cool night air mixing with the static energy against his skin. Trees loomed like sentinels, and shadows danced dangerously around them. He could feel the tension lingering like a storm about to break. "What are we doing here?" Lily whispered harshly, glancing around nervously. "Waiting. We can't risk being seen. Hopefully, he'll lose track of us." But as they crouched down behind a tree, the hush of the night was shattered by the unmistakable sound of footsteps, a deliberate and relentless march breaking through the stillness. Robert felt bile rise in his throat. "Stay behind me," he whispered, summoning all the bravery he could muster. His heart thrummed loudly, each beat reminding him of the threat. The steps grew closer, echoing in the eerie silence, and Robert leaned slightly out from behind the tree. But there was no figure in sight, only the rustle of leaves and shadows swaying. The unsettling feeling crawled under his skin, a rabbit caught in the hunter's gaze, every instinct urging him to flee, to fight. Suddenly, a scream shattered the silence. It wasn't far. "Did you hear that?" Lily whispered, eyes wide, fear etched on her face. Robert barely nodded. "We have to go now." But as he turned to lead Ethan and Lily back to the car, the air thickened with an unfamiliar scent, smoky, acrid. The shadows shifted, revealing a new threat. Well, a voice purred from the darkness, low and menacing. "Look who we have here." Robert's heart dropped. They were trapped. The nightmare was far from over, and he realized with mounting horror this was just the beginning. What awaited them in the shadows? Robert's breath hitched as the voice slithered through the dark. He felt his heart beat a frantic rhythm against his rib cage, each thump screaming for him to take action. The figure stepped forward, the shadows painting a sinister outline, the knife's blade glinting under the pale moonlight. "Who are you?" Robert shouted, trying to sound braver than he felt. The man chuckled, a sound that crawled under Robert's skin. "You really don't remember me, do you?" "But oh, I remember you." He stepped into the light, revealing a face twisted in a smile that told Robert everything he needed to know, the kind of smile that belonged to someone who relished in power, in having control. "Get away from us." Lily's voice trembled, and Robert shot her a look, urging her to stay calm for Ethan's sake. The boy was glued to his mother's hip, wide-eyed with fear. "You think you can hide forever?" The man mused, eyes glinting with a malicious amusement. "I know all your secrets, Robert. And now, it's time you paid for them." An icy grip of dread wrapped around Robert's throat. "What do you want?" he managed to whisper, his voice barely breaking above the rushing wind. "To show you what it means to lose everything." At that moment, the reality of their situation crashed down on him. This was more than a mere threat, it was a vendetta. Every instinct screamed to protect Lily and Ethan, but the fear of the unknown kept him frozen. They were cornered, with nowhere to run. "Let us get out of here." Robert pivoted to Lily, but increased footfalls echoed from their previous path, the same path they had hoped would lead to safety. "Robert!" Lily gasped, eyes darting toward the noise. "They're coming!" "Stay close." He grabbed Lily's wrist, pulling Ethan deeper into the shadows. Panic swirled around them, and the adrenaline surged like molten lava through Robert's veins. Out of nowhere, a loud rustle came from the nearby bushes, an explosion of movement that shattered the stillness of the night. Every instinct told him to run, but he needed to gather his thoughts. "We have to find somewhere to hide," he ordered, scanning the park frantically. Just then, a flicker of hope appeared. An old shed nestled among the trees, its door slightly ajar, promising darkness and cover. Only they could reach it without being seen. "There!" Robert pointed, urgency in his voice. "We can make it!" As they dashed toward the shed, the footsteps behind them grew louder. Robert's heart raced, echoing the pounding of his feet against the ground. He stole a glance back, seeing the shadowed figure move with an eerie familiarity. "No," he breathed out. The shed loomed closer, its entrance yawning wide like a hungry mouth. Closer, they were almost there. But just as they reached it, Robert felt a sharp pain slice through his side. He stumbled, the breath knocked out of him as a branch snagged his coat, pulling him back. "Robert!" Lily screamed, her eyes wide with fear. "No! Go!" he shouted, fighting against the pain, struggling to pull himself free. "Get inside, don't look back!" Without hesitation, Lily shoved Ethan through the doorway, urgency etched on her features. "I want to leave you!" Time slowed as Robert faced the merciless gaze of the man coming closer, a triumphant grin forming on his lips. "Oh, but you will!" With a final burst of power, Robert ripped himself free and lunged for the shed, but as he turned, the blade flashed and then, a piercing pain erupted in his shoulder. The world around him blurred, the darkness closing in. He barely made it through the threshold before collapsing to the ground, everything going dark. "Robert!" Lily cried, her voice echoing in the empty night, panic ringing through every syllable. But it was just his wound that threatened to consume him. It was the chilling realization that there was an even deeper darkness approaching the truth about what they had been caught up in, a revelation that could tear their family apart. And outside, the shadows shifted, the man stepping closer, whispering promises of retribution that sent shivers down Robert's spine. Was this truly the end? Or just the beginning of a nightmare unfurling in the night? Robert's eyes fluttered open, the world around him swimming in and out of focus. He lay in the dark shed, the musty smell of old wood and damp earth filling his lungs. Panic surged through him as he struggled to sit up, wincing at the sharp pain searing through his shoulder. His shirt was slick with blood. "Lily! Ethan!" Robert's voice came out in a raspy whisper, fear clawing at his insides. He pushed himself onto his elbows and scanned the cramped space, the shadows clinging like treacherous hands around him. "Mom?" The soft voice of Ethan reached him, sounding small and frightened. A rush of relief washed over Robert at the sound, but it was quickly drowned by the severity of their situation. "They're here," Robert breathed, as the memory of the figure outside the man with the knife crawled back into his mind like an unwelcome shadow. "Robert!" Lily's voice, trembling and urgent, cut through the darkness. She emerged from deeper within the shed, cradling Ethan. Her expression was etched with fear and determination. "What happened? Are you okay?" "Just a scratch," he lied, forcing a smile. "We need to be quiet. He's out there." "What do we do?" Lily's eyes darted to the door, her fingers clutching Ethan tighter against her side. Robert leaned against the wall, gathering what little strength he had. "We'll wait here a moment and listen. If he comes in, we have to be ready." The minutes stretched into an eternity, silence dominating save for the rapid beating of their hearts. It was a fragile stillness that made Robert's skin prickle. The fear was thick enough to taste, dread hung in the air like a dense fog. "Mommy, I'm scared," Ethan whispered, beating tears shining in his innocent eyes. Lily knelt down, brushing the boy's hair back. "I know, sweetheart. I'm here." Her voice was soothing, but it cracked under the weight of their reality. "Listen," Robert urged, his ears straining against the sudden stillness that engulfed them. "Do you hear that?" Footsteps echoed through the night, soft but deliberate, sending chills down Robert's spine. They were close. Rising panic swelled inside Robert, fueling his fading strength. The man could find them any moment. "We have to move," he decided, pressing his palm against the wound, gritting his teeth against the pain. "Back to the entrance. We can slip out while he is distracted." As they prepared, a deep, mocking laugh reverberated from outside. "You can't hide in there forever, Robert. I'm just getting started." Robert's blood ran cold. "It's time to go," he commanded, eyes locking onto Lily's as she nodded firmly. They crept toward the door, hearts pounding in unison, every creak of the floorboards an alarm bell in the stillness of the night. Robert's thoughts raced. He couldn't let anything happen to Lily or Ethan. They reached the door, Robert peering through the crack, searching for any sign of their pursuer. The park was eerily deserted under the moonlight, trees standing like sentinels, their branches twisted and gnarled. "Now," he whispered, pushing the door open. They slipped outside, the cold night air biting at their skin. The world spun around Robert, dizziness threatening to pull him back down, but the sight of the looming figure sent a shock of adrenaline through him. "Run!" he shouted, grabbing Lily's arm and pulling Ethan along as they sprinted through the park, the laughter echoing behind them, growing louder. Every footfall felt like an explosion in the stillness. "We can't let him find us," Robert urged, glancing over his shoulder as they darted between trees, heart racing faster than his feet could carry him. But just as they turned the corner around a thick oak, Robert collided with something hard, a wall of muscle. The world tilted as he stumbled back, falling to the ground. The laughter rang sharply in his ears, and the man loomed over them, grinning with a dark victory. "Going somewhere?" he taunted, raising the knife, its glint almost blinding. In that moment, Robert's mind exploded with a tumult of thoughts. They were trapped, the shadows closing in. The secret this man held was about to come spilling out, leaving destruction in its wake. "Run!" Robert yelled again, forcing himself onto his feet even as the man's grip tightened around his throat. He had to protect his family. He had to do something. And as Lily's terrified screams pierced the night, Robert made a desperate choice, a choice that could change everything. What had he uncovered? What truth lay in the darkness, waiting to shatter their world? The knife glinted under the moonlight, sharp and sinister. Robert's heart raced, a wild drumbeat echoing in his ears as he tugged at the grip around his throat. The man above him leaned closer, his breath hot with malice. "You think you're a hero, don't you?" he sneered, tightening his hold just enough to make Robert's vision splotchy. "Get away from him!" Lily's voice sliced through the night, ringing with an unyielding strength. Robert could hardly breathe, but he sensed her movement, saw her step forward, shielding Ethan behind her. "Mommy!" Ethan's high-pitched cry etched a raw wound through Robert's heart. Every layer of fear peeled away, revealing an overwhelming urge to protect them both. "You make me laugh, sweetheart," the man mocked, sneering at Lily. "Do you think you can save him? Because it's about to get very messy." With a sudden surge of adrenaline, Robert twisted, breaking free from the man's grip. The instinct to survive overtook him. He lunged at the attacker, desperation fueling his attack. The force of his body collided with the man's, knocking him off balance. "Run!" Robert yelled again, this time more forcefully, pulling Lily and Ethan away as the figure stumbled back. They dashed deeper into the maze of trees, the shadows darting alongside them. "I can't believe this is happening," Lily gasped, every word laced with disbelief and terror. Robert didn't answer, his focus laser-sharp despite the fuzziness clouding his mind from shock and pain. They needed to find shelter, a place to regroup and formulate a plan. He could hear the man cursing behind them, the sounds of his furious pursuit echoing through the still night. They raced through the thick brush, the cold air biting at their exposed skin. Robert barely noticed the branches clawing at him, each slap a reminder of their precarious situation. "There!" Robert pointed at an old, run-down gazebo ahead. It stood half-fallen, an eerie silhouette under the stars. It would be their best bet and open escape, yet it had enough structure to shield them momentarily. They reached the gazebo just as Robert heard the man's laughter again, taunting and chilling. "You can't hide forever!" It rang out, rolling through the trees as if the night itself conspired against them. Inside the gazebo, they huddled together in the dark. Robert could feel Lily's hand trembling in his, and he fought against the panic rising inside him. "We have to stay quiet and still," he whispered, his breath coming in quick, shallow bursts. But then, his heart dropped as he saw shadows moving through the trees. The figure was drawing closer, the sound of his footsteps a grim melody in the night. Robert's instincts screamed at him to act, but fear rooted him to the wooden floor. Suddenly, a wet sound cut through the air. Robert's stomach churned. It wasn't the sound of just footsteps. The man was laughing. No, he was speaking to someone else. "I know you're in here. You can't escape the truth." "What does he mean?" Lily whispered, eyes wide with panic. "I don't know," Robert replied, trying to maintain calm as adrenaline surged through him like fire. But a dark suspicion began to weave through his mind. What truth? What had they stumbled into? The man's voice dropped to a low murmur, laced with threat. You think you can just forget what I told you last time? I have unfinished business, Robert. Panic gripped him again like a vice. He glanced at Lily and Ethan, the weight of his obligation heavy on his shoulders. He knows something about us. Just then, the man emerged from the trees, his shadow stretching long across the gazebo. The game is far from over. You will regret this, Robert. Time stood still as Robert and his family exchanged terrified glances. In that moment, realization dawned. They weren't just running from a man with a knife. They were being hunted for something far more sinister. Listen to me, we have to stick together, Robert asserted, voice low, heart pounding. But the man just smiled, and Robert's heart sank. What could he possibly know? And what would happen if they didn't uncover the truth in time? With the harrowing laughter hanging in the air, they knew they had to decide quickly: fight or flee, uncover the dark secrets weaving around them or face the consequences. The shadows whispered a promise of danger, but Robert knew they had to act, before it was too late. The darkness loomed around them like a thick fog, every creak of the gazebo feeling amplified in the tense silence. The man's mocking laughter felt like a snake slithering through Robert's mind, wrapping itself around his thoughts. His throat went dry, and he struggled to find the right words, but terror seized him. "What do you want?" he finally shouted, his voice barely breaking through the noise in his head. The man leaned forward, the moonlight illuminating his twisted grin. "You know exactly what I want, Robert. You just haven't accepted it yet." His eyes glinted with a predatory glimmer that sent a shudder through Robert. Behind him, Lily clutched Ethan tightly, her breaths coming in panicked bursts. "We need to get out of here," she whispered urgently, but Robert felt stuck, the weight of their past pressing in on him. "What kind of game is this?" Robert demanded, feeling the instinct to fight surging within him. "What unfinished business? We don't owe you anything." The man straightened, his smile fading into a dangerous scowl. "Oh, but you do. You left me with a mess, Robert, and I've come to collect." "You thought you could erase your mistakes." He took a slow step closer, but mistakes have a way of coming back. Robert's heart sank as a realization flickered in his mind. This wasn't just a random attack, it was personal. The echoes of old decisions danced tauntingly at the edges of his memory, pulled out of the shadows he wished to forget. The man continued, weaving a dark tale that spun in Robert's ears. "Remember the club? The deal you made? It was only a matter of time before the balance tipped. The truth has a way of finding its way to the surface." "What are you talking about?" Robert's voice trembled as confusion mingled with fear. 13 years ago, you and your friends thought you were untouchable." The man leaned against the gazebo's broken railing, crossing his arms as if he had all the time in the world. "But nobody is untouchable forever, Robert. Your time is up." A cold dread washed over Robert. He glanced at Lily, who was clenching Ethan tighter, trying to shield him from the horror unfolding. They were caught in a past that refused to remain buried. "Whatever you think I did," Robert began, refusing to back down, "it was a long time ago. I'm not that person anymore." The man chuckled darkly, waving his hand dismissively. "And yet, your past has a funny way of catching up with you. And now it's your turn to face the consequences." Before Robert could utter another word, a loud crack echoed from the trees, the sound shattering the moment. The man flinched, his eyes darting toward the noise. "Did you hear that?" Lily whispered. "Stay quiet," Robert venomously instructed, tension radiating off him as he peered into the darkness beyond the gazebo. The woods crackled ominously, shadows melding into shapes that danced on the periphery of their fear. The man's demeanor shifted, suddenly alert. "This isn't over, Robert. You need to choose. Will you confront the truth, or run away from it like you always have?" Robert's pulse quickened. Something was moving just beyond their sight, and instincts ignited within him. He took a deep breath, the weight of decisions heavy on his shoulders. They couldn't linger. Hiding was no longer an option. "Now!" Robert shouted, grabbing Lily's hand. "We run!" They bolted from the gazebo, fear folding into determination as they dashed into the darkness, heartbeats sinking in their frantic escape. Behind them, the man's mocking laughter echoed through the trees, a chilling reminder that danger was still very close. But even as they fled, Robert knew they weren't safe. The still night air felt charged with unsaid threats, and as they weaved through the thicket, a nagging doubt clouded his mind. What had they truly stumbled into? And how far would the man go to extract his revenge? As the oppressive night enveloped them, Robert resolved to unlock the truth before it consumed them all. They needed answers fast. The shadows weren't going to let them leave without a fight, and time was running out. The branches whipped against Robert's arms as he dashed through the underbrush, adrenaline pouring through him. Each step felt heavier, as though the ground itself was trying to drag him back into the darkness they had just escaped. The moon overhead flickered through the canopy, casting brief flashes of light that only added to the confusion. "Where are we going?" Lily panted, her voice laced with fear. She was struggling to keep up, and Robert could feel the tension wrapped tightly around them like a vice. "To the road," he grunted, the image of their tormentor burning in his mind. The man's cruel smile haunted him, morphing into a shadow that loomed closer with every breath he took. He could still hear that mocking laughter echoing through the trees, taunting him for running instead of confronting his past. The three of them stumbled down a narrow path, thick with undergrowth and silence. Ethan, bewildered and constricted in Lily's arms, squirmed and protested. "Mom! I want to go home." "Just stay close, honey," Lily murmured, her voice cracking. The reality of their situation clamped down tightly all around them. "Just a little further," Robert urged them, though his heart thumped like a drum in his chest. How could he possibly protect them from the wrath of a man he couldn't fully comprehend? A sudden rustling sound made Robert freeze. He exchanged glances with Lily, and for a brief moment, the air felt surreal. Without a word, he pulled her toward a clump of bushes, shielding Ethan's face against her shoulder. "Shh," he hissed, squinting into the darkness. The rustling grew louder, heavy footsteps crunching against the leaves. "Looks like they're having fun," came a voice that sent a cold wave of terror over Robert. It was the man, emerging like a shadow from the night, his eyes glowing with malicious intent. "Run!" Robert shouted, shoving Lily and Ethan ahead of him. But as he turned, he felt a sharp pain shoot through his shoulder, an arm lunging forward to grab him. In a split second, instincts took over. Robert twisted free, adrenaline fueling his escape as he sprinted after Lily and Ethan. He could hear the man's unsettling laughter behind them, echoing like a death knell, chasing them through the foliage. "Go! Just keep moving!" Robert yelled, forcing the panic down. But inside, the fear churned like a storm, drowning out rational thought. Just ahead, a glimmer of light broke through the trees. The road. Relief surged through Robert. They were moments away from possible safety, if only they could reach it in time. But as they crossed the threshold into the clearing, a terrifying realization hit him. The road was empty, desolate. No cars. No signs of life. They were stranded. The weight of hopelessness bore down on him, and his heart sank further into despair. Lily stopped, panting, her eyes wide with panic. "What now, Robert? What do we do? We have to find somewhere safe." His voice trailed off as the reality sunk in. The man was hunting them just beyond the shadows. Suddenly, Ethan broke free from his mother's grip, his curly head turning left and right in confusion. "Daddy?" he called, his voice trembling. Panic twisted like a knife in Robert's gut. "Ethan, come back!" But it was too late. Ethan dashed into the field, heading straight toward a flickering light in the distance. "Ethan, no!" Robert screamed, fear gripping him like a vice. "They will see us!" Lily shouted, but she was already moving, desperate to catch up to their son. "Stay together!" Robert roared, but the shadow behind him loomed larger, an impending doom ready to pounce. The flickering light was closer now, a small cabin hidden far off the road, a glimmer of potential safety. Could they find refuge there? Or would it just lead them deeper into the trap that was waiting for them? The man's menacing laughter filled the air once more, drowning out everything else. "Don't look back," Robert urged, his heart racing. But as he approached the cabin, uncertainty washed over him. What awaited them inside? Would they find help or a deeper nightmare? Time was slipping through his fingers, and with each step toward the cabin, Robert was acutely aware that a choice was looming, a choice that might change everything. Would they even make it out alive? As they neared the door, uncertainty gripped his heart. Was this the end of their flight? Or just the beginning of their descent into darkness? The cabin's door creaked open as Robert pushed it, panic surging through his veins. Inside, shadows twisted ominously in the narrow beam of light pouring in from outside. The musty air hung heavy, mingling with the scent of forgotten memories, a source of comfort. Or perhaps another trap. "Ethan, stay close," Robert called, his voice firm even as dread gnawed at him. Lily rushed inside, her protective instincts going into overdrive as she pulled Ethan to her side, scanning the dimly lit corners for any signs of danger. "Is anyone here?" Lily's voice rang out, rising sharply in the stillness. No response. Just silence, thick and suffocating. "Just a minute. Listen," Robert urged, shutting the door behind them. The sound echoed ominously in the tiny space. They all held their breath, straining to listen for the footsteps that had pursued them relentlessly. "It's quiet," Ethan whispered, his small voice trembling. Robert knelt down, pulling him closer. "Listen carefully, buddy. We need to be brave. No matter what happens." But the strangling grip of fear tightened around Robert's heart. Was bravery enough? Moments stretched into painful silence until a sudden crash outside shattered their fragile calm. "He's here!" Robert shouted. He surged toward the window, peering out into the darkness as the shadows came alive, moving closer like a storm gathering strength. "Get back!" Lily hissed, yanking Ethan further inside. "What if he sees us?" Looking over his shoulder, Robert's heart ached as he saw Ethan's bewildered expression, the innocent fear reflected in those wide eyes. "Stay close, don't move." As he turned back to face the cabin, the voice echoed again, malevolent and chilling. "You can't hide from me, Robert. I know exactly where you are." Panic clawed at Robert's throat. "What do you want?" He shouted into the night, masking his fear with anger, challenging the shadow that threatened to engulf him. "You need to learn, Robert," the man taunted, stepping into the light, revealing a face lined with cruel delight. "It's time to answer for your past." The knife sparkled in his hand, a dagger of fate poised above them. Lily clutched Ethan tighter, fear tugging at every facet of her being. "What did you do, Robert? Who is this guy?" The fragments of his past began to claw their way back, memories rising with a vengeance. "He was someone from a deal I thought would set me free, but it only cost me my soul." "Enough with your theatrics," the man sneered, stepping closer. The light flickered, throwing grotesque shadows across the room. "This time, there will be no escape." Robert's mind raced. He wouldn't let his past destroy his family. "We're not what you think we are," he shouted defiantly. "I've changed." The words tasted bitter as they slipped past his lips, full of desperation. "Changed?" The man laughed, a shrill sound that reverberated in Robert's ears. "You think you can just walk away?" A sudden movement behind him caught Robert's eye. The door creaked open, a figure stepping into the room. It was a local, one of the townspeople, flashlight in hand. "What's going on here?" the newcomer said, eyes darting between Robert's family and the intruder. "Thank God," Robert said, but then panic rose as the man spun around, his knife glinting ominously. "Run!" Robert urged Lily as he stepped forward, protective instincts surging through him. "Stay back," the intruder warned, menacing and wild. But Robert moved quickly. "You don't have to do this. You think this is about choice?" The man snarled, ready to lunge. The scene escalated into chaos as the townsfolk stood rooted, eyes wide with shock. "Get them out! Now!" Robert shouted as he lunged at the figure, hoping to keep him silent long enough for Lily and Ethan to escape. As Robert tackled the man, the knife clanked to the ground, and they both fell heavily to the floor, grappling in a heavy, desperate struggle. "Help me!" Robert barked, but his voice was drowned out by the violence of fear and adrenaline. In that moment, everything blurred. Time felt suspended as he fought not just for his life, but for his family's safety. Lily's voice pierced through the tumult, frantic as she called, "Ethan, stay with me." As Robert grappled with the man, he could feel the cold steel of the struggle, the panic surging. Suddenly, there was a loud crack, and the stranger was thrown back, stunned. There was Ethan, standing firm with a heavy branch in hand. "Get away from my dad!" he yelled, wide-eyed but defiant. Robert's heart soared. In that single heartbeat, Ethan became the embodiment of courage, electrifying the room with hope. "We can do this together!" Robert shouted, feeling a swell of strength filling him from within. Together, they surged towards the man, Lily uniting with Robert and Ethan. Clinging to each other, they stepped closer, standing united against the encroaching gloom. The intruder, realizing he was outnumbered and utterly surrounded, stammered back, retreating from the heat of their collective resolve. "This isn't over," he hissed, retreating back into the shadows. "Don't you dare!" Robert shouted after him, heart pounding in his chest. The moment caught in their breath, they stood together unbreakable, as a family. "Would you help us?" Robert asked the townsfolk, now gathering at the door, hands raised. In the presence of newfound allies, the tide shifted. And as the threat melted into the night, a tangible light broke through the realm of despair. "Come on, let us get out of here," Lily said, urgency fueling her voice. They turned together, the warmth of shared strength vibrating in the air around them. Together they walked out of the darkness and into the warmth of the dawn that awaited them on the other side. The scars of their past might linger, but they would face the future side by side, no longer haunted by the shadows. A billion dreams could come true, and in that moment they took their first steps toward healing. As sunlight broke through, Robert took in the warmth, a promise for their journey ahead, a journey not just of survival but of rediscovery, love, and redemption. Robert would protect them, not just from the darkness surrounding them, but from the darkness within himself. And back in the cab of the cabin, memories were cleared away, and hope began to glow faintly in their hearts. Now was the time to forge the life they truly desired. But first things first. The struggle to claim their lives would start with exhaling the ghosts of yesterday and letting in the glow of tomorrow. And now, it's your turn. Make sure you don't miss out on our next gripping stories because you need to subscribe now. That red button is waiting. Don't wait even one more second to smash that like button and show your love for this adventure. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this epic outcome. We're all in this together, and your voice matters. And remember, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us spread the word. Your support means everything to us, and this is the moment to show it.